Today I'm going to show you how I went from this to this in Lightroom CC. Greetings everybody. Today I'm going to show you how I got that result and show you how the radial filter is one of the most powerful tools in Lightroom. Now Lightroom has, other than the crop tool, it only consists of 5 tools, and if you don't count the crop tool and the spot removal tool, which is basically how you heal and clone, it's essentially a 4-tool program. And the main components of the program is the adjustment brush, the radial filter, and the graduated filter. The radial filter is my favorite. It can really give an image great contrast, and you can add light to it and feather it in a way so it just blends into the photograph so nicely. Well, let's get started. As you can see, here's the original file. It's quite bland. I'm gonna do what I usually do, start with lifting the shadows a bit, and we're going to go to about 90 this time. It's a really dark image, and I want to really expose it, but expose it in a way so that I want to give it an HDR look, but kind of tread the line between HDR and photorealistic, because sometimes HDRs can really be a bit too much and can be really abrasive to the eyes. A lot of people love them, but I don't. Now, as for my whites and blacks, okay, here's the white and black bar, the white and black bars. There's a way to automatically set them. You hold the shift key down, okay, and then you double click on the white bar. Bam. Let's see what it gives me. Try it again. There we go. The program chose to go 45 notches to the right and give me a nice amount of white, but I think it's too much. And the only way to figure that out is you hold the Alt key, you press on the white bar. It's actually not bad. You'll know it's too much if you start to see splotches like that. Then your white point is probably a bit too much. You want to go just as soon as you see some white point come about, right about there. Same thing with the blacks. You hold down the Alt key, and it's going to mask your selection for you. Go to the left, reduce the blacks. Just when you start to see some black splotches come into the frame is when you stop. And I already noticed a difference in contrast. Lots of blacks, lots of white, bright white, good tonal range throughout in terms of white and blacks. Now we want to give it tonal range in terms of highlights and shadows. We reduced highlights here. I increased the shadows, which made the image a bit flat, and that's what HDR photography is. It removes highlights and shadows and gives it a flatter look, though a more defined look and detailed look because of that. But you want some balance to the photo. You want to add contrast. So what we're going to do is we're going to increase the contrast about 15 to 20. Let's go to about 25 actually. And you experiment too. Go all the way to the right. See how it looks at 40, 50. Too much. Leave it at about 24, 25. Now that that's done, we're going to start using the tools. First and foremost, the radial filter. So as I said earlier in the video, this is my favorite tool because it allows you to apply light to the image in such a subtle way, and it feathers the light and blends it in. It blends in so nicely. And you can twist it. You can twist the oval, widen it a bit. In this case, I want light towards the end of the road. So like this, the eye, the light sort of pulls you into the shot, and I want to pull the viewer into the center of the image, and so I want the end of the road to be the brightest, while keeping this area here, this part of the road, I want this part of the road to be dark. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to go to the right here and select our exposure bar. We'll go to about 60. We're going to widen it a bit. Pull it down a bit. It's a bit too small. And we're going to move the whole thing a little further down. Okay? You tap on the center of the oval and it gives you a mask. It shows you where the changes have been made within that oval. And as you can see, it's feathered quite nicely. And you could always control the feathering on the right here. Lightroom users, you know that. For those who are unfamiliar with Lightroom and are just starting out, I'm going to add some whites to this too. Look at what the white bar does to this. It just really, really brings that street to life. But yeah, you can go all the way down to the right and select your feathering. Okay, we're done. So we're gonna press the done button. And what we're gonna do now is reduce the overall exposure. Because we're brightening parts of the image, you want to reduce the overall exposure, but you experiment, see how it looks. If you don't like it, you double tap on the bar and it automatically resets. So what's overexposed right now is the sky, so we're gonna fix that with the graduated filter. Okay, graduated filter is this middle square tool right here, this rectangular icon, and watch what it does. We're gonna go to the top. I'm gonna pull down. It's like pulling down a curtain. You hit the middle button. It masks the selection for you, so you'll see where the changes are going to be made. You don't want changes made to the prairie grass or the road, just the sky. So we're going to darken the sky a bit. Actually, we're going to add some blue to it. Very little. About 10. I want to go to about 10. 10, 13. A little bit of blue. And darken it. Right to about right around one stop. We're going to darken it by one stop. And we're going to do the same thing to the bottom of the image. Okay, we're going to pull up. Not as much, just a little to give it a nice, sort of like a manual vignette. All right? Yeah, I think about one stop works. Just under a stop. Okay, we're done with the graduated filter. Now, believe it or not, this is not a RAW file. It is an iPhone picture. I took this with my iPhone. And I find that iPhone photos are really, they really impress, I must say. You don't want to print an iPhone image too large. I suggest limiting your publication of your iPhone pictures to Instagram and Facebook and social media, because, or you can print them, of course, but not too large. I don't know if I'd print past 8 by 10. And that may be too large, depending on the subject. I mean, as it looks now, it's pretty detailed, but I can see parts of the sky here washed out. The rocks aren't that crisp, that sharp, but it's good enough. I mean, landscapes don't require the sharpest gear, you know what I mean? We're going to crop some sky to get rid of that blotch. I don't like that sunny blotch right there, so we're going to crop that out. Gives it a bit of a panoramic look too, a little wide angle vibe going. Okay, crop that out. I want to brighten that initial street, the end of the road there with the radial filter. So you can always go back to it. That's the beauty of Lightroom. Go back to it. It knows what you did in the past. And we're going to increase the white level again. And overall exposure to about 70 and change. 75. A little more. 78. I think that looks just about right. And we're going to do similar changes to the prairie grass and warm it up a bit too. So we're going to take that same radial filter and we're going to make some ovals. Okay, it's set right now on dehaze. Let's reset that and come up here to the exposure and increase that a bit just to give it some contrast. Go to the right, and when you think you went too far, you'll know it, you'll see it. In this case, I think 78 works well. And we're going to do the same to the prairie grass here to the left. We're going to tilt the oval down so it fits the grass. And we're going to expose it. Increase the exposure. You know, it gives it a little more pop, a little more contrast and tonal range throughout, you know. Okay, we're done, and I think we're just about done here. If anything, you know what? Let's go back to that radial filter, and let's get crazy. And if it looks too much, you could always go back and just delete your selections. Let's add some more ovals, give it more. You know, let's bring this thing to life. Let's bring this composition to life. Brighten that up a little bit. And maybe add some white. You'd be surprised how these little changes here and there accumulate. And last but not least, we're going to take the adjustment brush, which is the last tool on the right here. All it is a paintbrush. Okay. We're going to increase warmth at the temperature bar on top. Increase warmth to 20. And increase overall saturation to about 20 as well. Okay, now we're going to paint. I'm going to paint in some color. Again, the color is already there. We're just bringing it to life just a little bit. Okay, we're done. I think I went too far to the right. So when you feel like you applied your selection to a part of the image that you don't want, you simply tap the Alt button and it's going to reverse the selection for you. So you just click on your mouse and it erases what you applied. And what I want to do is add some more right here. Okay. Now, if you feel like it's too much and too bright, go back to your bars, your saturation bar, and decrease. Same thing with the temperature bar. Decrease a little bit. I think 13 is fine. And I think that about does it, folks. It looks like a pretty nice shot to me. way better than the original. I think if I'm going to do anything else to this, it's going to be a vignette. I'm going to add a vignette to it. Oh, and I almost forgot. Overall sharpening. Let's just sharpen it up a little bit. It's an iPhone shot. You want to sharpen it up. Let's go to about 75. There we go. And, of course, the icing on the cake, a little bit of vignette, which I love to use on almost all my images, especially landscapes, because it draws the eye to the center of the image. And it works well with wildlife. It works well in circumstances like this when you have long roads. And I think that about does it, folks. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it informative. And thanks for tuning in. Take care.